A lot of people are scared to quit drinking because we feel as if we're going to lose so much. We think, oh, we're going to lose all our friends. We're not going to be able to have fun anymore. We're going to lose our ability to relax and to wind down. But in fact, in reality, as I've discovered, we gain so much more. So we try to stress that to people that we're trying to help to get sober, and explain that they need to focus on what they're going to gain and to be excited about this journey. Right. Do you think that's helpful for people?
Oh, absolutely. It can't just be about what we're giving up. It has to be about what we're moving toward. And that's why I really like the kind of dopamine fast as a 30-day experiment. First of all, 30 days is something that most people can wrap their head around. I'm not going to stop drinking forever, but I could give it up for 30 days. And because for most people 30 days is enough to begin to feel better, what's nice about that is then I no longer have to persuade them that there's a better alternative. Because a lot of times people in their addiction, they think I'm either miserable using my drug or I'm miserable without my drug. But no matter how you slice it, I'm miserable. What they cannot see is this third pathway that's a life of not using, but that's really a really good path with lots of joy, and as you say, lots of other things gained that wouldn't have been there otherwise. What if instead of just one piece of chocolate, I've got a whole box of chocolates, and I continue to ingest more and more dopamine over more and more chocolate over days to weeks to months to years? Those gremlins start to multiply. Pretty soon I've got enough gremlins on that pain side of the balance to fill this whole room, and they're essentially camped out there. And now I'm entering into addicted brain, right? Now I need more of my drug in more potent forms, not to feel the pleasure, but just to stop feeling the pain of being in that dopamine deficit state. And this is essentially what drives addictive behavior.
I wanted to talk to you about the early sobriety blues, as we call it. And I'll give you my example. Reasonably happy in my first few months of sobriety because I felt good. I thought, oh, at last I'm doing this. It's making a difference and I'm feeling better already. I felt quite happy and excited. And then at about 3 or 4 months, my mood just plummeted and I felt so low and so depressed. And I knew that I couldn't go back to drinking for health reasons. And I just didn't know what to do. And I felt trapped, really. I just sat with it because I didn't know what else to do. And sometimes I talk about that period with people and I say it was like a void. And I sat there with this void. And then one day I got an idea to start Tribe Sober. So then I had to get a website and learn about marketing and start a community and run workshops. And I was just busy, and it was a big project that I had to have lots of small steps and put them in place. Right. And that was great. And it got the dopamine going, and it's still going 8 years later. It was anhedonia, wasn't it, that I had, just that flatness. Well, a lot of other people that I work with, they suffer from that now. And I usually tell them to get a project, try and find something that will absorb your attention and take your mind off it.
If you just go back to this basic pleasure-pain balance metaphor to describe the mechanism of how we process pleasure and pain, it turns out that those gremlins are agnostic to whatever the initial stimulus is. So we talked about how in addiction, if we press on the pleasure side, they'll jump on the pain side. But it turns out if we intentionally press on the pain side, those gremlins will actually go over and hop on the pleasure side, and we will get our dopamine indirectly by doing a hard thing first or paying for it up front.
I wanted to mention the sense of connection that we have within the recovery community because we understand each other and we're not afraid to be vulnerable. And I wanted to ask you, does that release dopamine or is it oxytocin?
Oh, great question. So it releases both, right? So we know that oxytocin, which is our love hormone that does get released during pair bonding, mate pair bonding, mother-child pair bonding, and also just probably anytime we make a deep, intimate social connection, or really any social connection to some degree is going to release oxytocin, which then binds to dopamine-releasing neurons in the reward pathway of the brain and releases dopamine, which is why feeling love feels great and why people can actually get addicted to falling in love. And that's part of love and sex addiction.